Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. My name is Amir Merchant from G.E.M.S Immigration Services. I am a licensed immigration advisor for New Zealand and a former migration agent for Australia, currently based at our head office in Auckland. On this channel, we share practical guidance on visa processes, immigration pathways, and related topics to help you make informed decisions. If you are unsure about your visa options or planning your next step, consider subscribing and enabling notifications so you stay updated with the latest developments. Everybody talks about getting a second passport, but almost nobody explains what happens after you actually get one because that is when the real strategy begins. New Zealanders are waking up to something important in 2026. One passport is no longer enough for a world that is becoming more unpredictable, more regulated, and more divided geopolitical. People in New Zealand still believe the New Zealand passport is one of the best in the world, and yes, it is extremely strong for travel, but travel alone is no longer the real issue. The real question is this: what happens if New Zealand changes politically, economically, socially, or financially in ways you no longer agree with? What happens if taxes rise harder, regulations appear, housing affordability keeps worsening, or banking restrictions become tighter? What happens if global instability increases and being tied to only one system suddenly becomes risky? That is why smart entrepreneurs, retirees, investors, and globally minded families in New Zealand are no longer thinking about one passport. They are building passport portfolios not because they hate New Zealand, but because optionality is freedom. And once you start holding multiple passports, one of the biggest questions becomes how do you actually travel with them? Which passport do you use? Which one do you enter with? Which one do you exit with? Which one do you show the airline? Which one gives you the least friction? Because yes, it can feel confusing at first, but once you understand the system, it becomes one of the most powerful forms of global flexibility you can have. The first thing New Zealanders need to understand is that many countries expect you to enter and leave using their passport if you are their citizen. New Zealand is one of them. If you are a New Zealand citizen and also hold a Caribbean passport, a European passport, or another citizenship, New Zealand still sees you as a New Zealander first. So when you leave Auckland, Wellington, or Christchurch, you normally depart using the New Zealand passport. Then once you land somewhere else, strategy begins. Imagine you are a New Zealander and also a citizen of Grenada, Portugal, Serbia, or St. Lucia. You arrive in Europe or Asia or Latin America. Now you can choose the passport that gives you the best positioning. Maybe your New Zealand passport works perfectly fine. Maybe your Caribbean passport gives you a more neutral geopolitical profile. Maybe your European passport gives you long-term rights to live and work across Europe. The important thing is this: countries usually care about how you enter their country, not which passport you used in the previous country. That is where many people get confused. Airline check-in desk is different from immigration. The airline only wants proof that you can legally enter your destination country. Immigration wants to know under which nationality you are entering their territory. Those are two completely different systems. So imagine a New Zealand citizen flying from Auckland to Istanbul. At airline check-in, they may show whichever passport proves entry rights into Turkey. Maybe the New Zealand passport, maybe a Serbian passport, maybe a Caribbean passport. Then upon arrival, they enter Turkey using whichever passport gives them the smoothest experience. And when leaving Turkey, they normally exit using that same passport. Simple. The more passports you have, the more flexibility you gain. And more New Zealanders are starting to understand why that matters, because New Zealand, while still one of the safest and most stable countries in the world, also faces serious pressures. Cost of living continues rising. Housing affordability remains difficult. Many younger New Zealanders feel locked out of property ownership. Taxes and compliance continue increasing. And geographically, New Zealand is very isolated from the rest of the world. A lot of New Zealanders also quietly feel vulnerable because everything depends on one economy, one banking system, and one government structure at the bottom of the Pacific. So, what globally minded New Zealanders are doing now is building layers. Maybe New Zealand remains the home base, but then they obtain a residency in Malaysia through MM2H or a Greek golden visa or UAE residency or a second citizenship through the Caribbean or ancestry citizenship in Ireland, Italy, Croatia, or Poland. Now, suddenly, they are not dependent on one country, one financial system, or one political direction. And once you have multiple passports, you begin thinking differently about the world. You stop asking which passport is the strongest, and you start asking which passport is strongest for this specific purpose. Maybe the New Zealand passport is ideal for living in New Zealand and easy global travel. Maybe a Caribbean passport gives better geopolitical neutrality. Maybe a European passport creates opportunities for your children to live and work across the European Union decades from now. Maybe a Malaysian residency gives you a lower cost regional base in Asia with world class healthcare and lower living costs. Maybe UAE residency becomes a financial diversification strategy and banking backup plan. This is how globally mobile families think now, not emotionally, strategically. One passport for security, one for mobility, one for tax flexibility, one for neutrality, one for banking access, one for future generations. That is why many successful New Zealanders are quietly exploring second citizenships and overseas residencies now because the world is fragmenting into geopolitical blocks. And if you only belong to one system, you inherit all of that system's risks. Smartest people diversify their passports the same way they diversify investments. And there is something else New Zealanders quickly realize once they start traveling on multiple passports, countries do not care nearly as much as people imagine. If your documents are valid and you do not need a visa, immigration officers usually barely react. The fear mostly exists in people's head. Someone with a Grenadian passport walks into Southeast Asia stamp. Someone with a Serbian passport enters Latin America stamp. Someone with a St. Lucian passport enters Europe stamp. The system keeps moving because outside the Western world, most countries are not emotionally invested in your nationality the way people think. They simply process travel, and that is why having multiple passports is becoming increasingly valuable because it gives you flexibility without needing permission every time the world changes direction. Now, obviously, not every passport is equal. Some are stronger for travel, are stronger for banking, some are stronger for taxes, some are stronger for neutrality, some are stronger for residency rights, some are stronger for protecting future generations. Entrepreneur may eventually want a Caribbean passport as a hedge. A New Zealand retirer may want Malaysia or Greece as a long-term residency option. A New Zealand investor may want UAE residency for financial diversification. A New Zealand family may want a European ancestry passport for future generations. This is no longer fringe thinking. This is becoming mainstream among globally minded people because the last few years taught everyone one major lesson. Governments can change quickly, banking systems can change quickly, travel rules can change quickly, tax systems can change quickly, freedom of movement can change quickly, and the people who handled those changes best were the people who already had multiple options in place before the crisis arrived. The goal is never being trapped anywhere because once you have options, you stop operating from fear, you operate from strategy. And when you finally hold multiple passports in your hand, you realize something powerful. Citizenship is no longer just identity, it is infrastructure for your freedom, your mobility, your finances, your family, and your future generations. The New Zealanders who understand that early will have an enormous advantage over the next decade. It's realistic. And strategy? is what separates opportunity from outcome. If you found this video valuable, make sure you like and subscribe to our channel, because we break down real immigration pathways, real strategies, and real insights so you can make informed decisions without falling into comment traps. And we can assist you to simplify this entire complex process and guide you from start to finish with complete peace of mind. No worries. Do get in touch with us now on our WhatsApp mobile number +642217860007, also provided in the comment section of this video, and we will get in touch with you as soon as possible. Your journey deserves the right start, and it starts with the right consultation. And now you have it. Thank you for watching.